Hi, Yara.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Welcome back to the forum.
I'm excited to be back. It's a good little break.
Yeah, last time I saw you was end of January.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
There's so many modules have passed since then, so I'm excited to fill you in on what kind of
Yeah.
I've been doing. February, I think when we last talked, we talked about dermatology. I had started that kind of the end of January, barely really started that, and so February was really dermatology heavy. And then after that, we switched to infectious disease, which was like a big jump, honestly, from
Yeah.
dermatology. So my brain was like moving in very different directions. And then we ended February starting with hematology oncology. So
Okay.
it felt like we did three very different modules that I think February was when I started kind of to change my study habits because they were just so different that I couldn't do the same thing that I'm like used to doing.
Yeah.
So dermatology was like obviously picture heavy. So I was like staring at pictures of skin all day. Infectious disease was a different jump because it really is just a lot of memorization. It's just so kind of set in stone what it is that you just have to memorize all these antibiotics and what they do
Yeah.
and what their effects are. So that was memorization heavy. And then we started hematology oncology, which I absolutely loved. So that was like a great start for me in February because I didn't really enjoy dermatology. Like it was not for me to say the least. I think I was really trying so hard to like it because the professor that teaches it is like truly my favorite person at Emory.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was like, I need to do this for her. Like she
Yeah.
wants me to like it, and I couldn't. So at least I know that's not really for me. So that's good. And then I found out you don't really do a rotation in dermatology, so I think I'm good. I
That's,
think
I think it's an elective,
yeah,
not a full
which
rotation.
I will not be pursuing. So that's I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and that's probably not one I'll be strong in. I really liked infectious disease. I felt like it was a great start. What Emory did is through the program is they wanted us to know about infectious disease early on. They didn't really stress that we had to memorize everything. They were just like, it's going to get really frustrating if every other module you're learning about all these antibiotics and you have no idea what they are. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's just extra studying. So what they did is they did like a week and a half of heavy infectious disease. And in that moment, it was hard because we just don't know how to apply any of this stuff. And then now that I've done several other modules that are pretty like medication heavy, it has saved me so much time. So I'm really glad they did it that way. And then we moved on to hematology and oncology.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very oncology heavy. I thought it would be a little bit more, but it just sounds like oncology as a field, like the medications are changing a lot and they're
Mm-hmm.
always kind of getting updated. And so even in our license exam, it doesn't sound like oncology is pretty heavy. So it's slightly introduced in each topic, but we got a little bit of that, which I enjoyed. Peds was incorporated a little bit into the oncology too, which I liked, but hematology was amazing.
Yeah.
I studied all this stuff about anemia and then I made a doctor's appointment and I went in, I was like, I think I'm anemic. And turns out I was. So at least
You
I knew what
you
that looked like.
self-diagnose yourself.
Yeah, it was a PA and she was like, "What are you doing at school here?" Because it was through Emory's healthcare and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm studying to be a PA." And she's like, "Oh, so you really might be anemic." And I was like, "Yeah, I like just studied that 2 days ago. I think I am." And turns
Did
out I was. So
did you
that was
figure out
funny.
what type of anemia?
Yeah, it's normocytic. All my
Okay.
labs are fine. Really, it's just my like ferritin is really low. It's like embarrassingly low. And I was a dietitian before, so it was funny because my vitamin D came back really low. So that was like embarrassing for me. I was like, I should know better,
You're not
you
eating a
know?
balanced diet yourself.
No, and I'm also not seeing the sunlight, I think,
That's true.
is what happened. So that was kind of fun, like combining that was fun. So I really liked hematology. I think starting the semester from January up until February, I would say hematology was my
That's good.
favorite part. The professor honestly made it everything, and it was just one of those topics that you do so many modules in PA school, so you kind of have to gravitate towards the one that come a little bit easier to you than
Mm-hmm.
the ones that you're just having to put so much effort, which you will and like you do in a lot of these modules, but some of them come easier than others. So I felt that with hematology. I was like, okay, there's something about just having like a kind of chart of everything, and my brain really worked well that way, so it was nice. And
Now
then
you, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. No, and then we moved on to March. March
Well,
was,
before you move on to
yeah,
March, now you said you had three unrelated topics, right? You had
hmm
dermatology, you had infectious disease, and you have
yeah,
hematology oncology.
yeah.
Now, did they separate these lectures, or in the same day you'll have all three
They
subjects?
separated them.
Okay.
So they structure it to where when you're in a module, you're just specifically in that module. So end of January to early February was dermatology.
Hmm.
Infectious, we finished dermatology, we took the exams, we're done with that. We moved to infectious disease. Infectious disease was a really short module. They actually combined like your grade with dermatology. I think it's just a pretty difficult module to get the first time, so they just wanted to give us some grace by putting it in like the grades of another class just to help us out a little bit. So that's a new thing of its own. And then when we moved on to hematology oncology, it was also a new thing.
So it would have been
And those,
difficult to like to switch your brain every
oh yeah,
each hour from
yeah,
dermatology to infectious disease to if all the
oh
classes
my
were on the
gosh,
same day.
yeah, no, that would, I don't think I would have survived. I think what was hard, which I can fill you in on what happened in March and April and then tell you pros and cons. I feel like that would
Okay.
make more sense.
Yeah.
And then March was the continuation of like a little bit of hematology, oncology. We were honestly at the end of it at that point. And then we jumped into HEENT. I
Okay.
struggle to say that every time. And pulmonology. That was a combined module, which makes sense. There was a
Yeah.
lot of kind of overlap. So what the professor did for that one, just because it probably was our first really big one, they separated the heme part, like that part. We took an
Hmm.
exam for that. We did that, and then they went in and jumped into the pulmonology part. It was still like one class, one course
Hmm.
director too, but it helped us kind of take a little bit of a break between the two. Pharmacology for that one was taught together. So that was a pretty
Okay.
heavy exam. I think that was the hardest pharmacology exam we've had so far. So that was interesting too. I also did not really enjoy HEENT, but I think I need to enjoy it because I'm going to probably be seeing it a
You're
lot
seeing a lot of it,
with
yeah.
family medicine. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's not like dermatology, it needs a little bit more time. It's a slow brewing relationship between me and Hint, but pulmonology I really enjoyed. It just felt very like each disease was its like unique thing. And so you didn't have all this overlap of all these things happening. Like you knew what pneumonia is, what if you have fluid in the lungs, what that looks like,
Hmm.
yeah, like it was good to just be able to separate those. So I like that part. We practiced a lot of x-rays during pulmonology. Our professor was really great at like putting an x-ray every day in class and A through I think, of just being
Okay.
like, what do you see everything and like verbalize it. So that was really nice. It was good practice. We had that on the exam too. They wanted to make sure
Okay.
we actually understood. So that was the first exam that wasn't just multiple choice. We had to see an x-ray, interpret an x-ray, tell the professor what we think the patient has, which was honestly great practice. I thought it was really
That's
cool.
good.
But yeah, so that was March. By by March
So
we were
talking about X-rays, do you go from soft tissue to bony structures or bony structures to soft tissues?
we start with like bony structures first. First we'll say like airway, and
Okay.
then we'll say bones, and then
Hmm.
we'll move on to like cardiac silhouette. It's just like an A through I, like the letters.
Okay.
So there is a mix, like they go back and forth, but they wanted us to go letter by letter and be like, okay, how do like the costophrenic angles look? Does the patient have like, I don't know, a pleural effusion that we need to treat? It's just stuff like that. And I liked how they taught them. I'm not sure if they do that in the hospital when they interpret it, but I think the professor just wanted us to not forget anything. So they were always like, even if we started and we are like, oh, that looks like pneumonia, they're always
Hmm.
like, no, I need you to start
Yeah.
from A.
Yes.
Like, I need you to kind of follow an organized
Yeah,
structure
that's
with that.
because there's so many incidental findings you don't want to miss.
Mm-hmm.
You'd
Mm-hmm.
be surprised how many times you get a chest X-ray for, let's say, cough, and you'll find something totally unrelated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is good practice for you to have a systemic order. That way, you're
Yeah.
not focusing on one particular, structure in the
Mm-hmm.
X-ray when so many other structures are available for you to see.
Yeah. And I honestly needed that too, because I mean, I've seen x-rays with you at work when it's
Mhm.
something to do with a patient that we have, but to sit there and understand what I was looking at, I needed the interpretation to be able to pick it. And so at first it was hard for me because I had to go through the A through I system just to understand, but I've never really looked at x-rays in depth to be like, oh, this looks different than normal. So
Mhm.
I would always compare it to what a normal x-ray looked like, because when you're looking at just something abnormal, sometimes it's big enough where you can see it and sometimes you
Yeah.
can't until you pull up a normal picture and you're like, oh, like
Oh,
this is normal. Like you can compare it better.
yeah.
So that was good. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, so far February and March, I would say hematology has been my
Mhm.
favorite, but pulmonology was really cool. We
Yes.
did a lot of stuff that felt like they reminded me a little bit of when I was a dietitian with like metabolic alkalosis and acidosis and all the respiratory stuff. That felt like a good refresher because I remember seeing it at work.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And then we kind of went through March, ended that, and then the last week of March into like the first few days of April is when we started cardiology.
Oh.
And cardiology is our longest and heaviest module, is my understanding so far. I'm not sure. I'm assuming neurology would probably be pretty long, but
Hmm.
in terms of time, cardiology was the one that was given the most time. So what they did, which is new this year, they did it different last year. They got a lot of positive feedback, but they got feedback saying EKGs are really difficult. So
Hmm.
combining them in the diseases that you're learning while you're still trying to learn them is hard. So our professor actually gave us a full week, which a week is not long enough, but it was a great start of just EKGs. There was
Hmm.
no like there was obviously murmurs and diseases incorporated, but not as heavy as we did. So that first week was just like, this is what an EKG is. This is what happens at each section. This is how what normal is, and this is what abnormal is. So it's good to just kind of get through the habit because it feels like another language. Honestly, I think it needs a lot of time to absorb in my system. But the more I see it, the more I'm understanding it. And again, it just goes back to knowing what normal is. So like slowly, I'll be able to understand like what the diseases look like, and that's what I'm working on today. So that works out great. So we did that for a week. And I think the professor's intention was to get the hard stuff out of the way because we had spring break right after the EKG
Hmm.
week. So he was like, I just need you to like enjoy your break, not worry about studying for anything, which was really great. So we did the EKG week, we took the exam, and then we went to spring break. So that was
Okay.
like everybody took the exam, and then out of nothing was in my brain. I walked out of that exam. I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know, but I think it was the break fell at a really good time because the burnout was real. Like
Yeah.
we were, I think all of us honestly were tired. We were just getting a little bit exhausted of constant studying. I mean, there's no breaks.
Yeah.
So the spring break fell in March, in not March, sorry, April.
How many days do
So
you have for spring break?
we had 9 days.
Okay.
Oh my God,
But
it was
before you
great.
went on a break, were you able to look at an EKG and say, okay, I can identify all the waves and all the
Yes.
peaks and troughs of the EKG? Okay.
Yeah, we
Good.
were able to. Yeah, at first it would just look like lines, and I was like, "That's they're nice." And the leads too, like where you place different leads and how it
Hmm.
kind of shows on a normal strip, um, was we were able to do that. So it was nice. We also have a student in our class that we have several actually, but there's one specific student that worked in cardiac rehab
Hmm.
before. So he was booked and busy. I was,
Ah,
booking appointments with him. I was like, I need you to, because I mean, he could just look at an EKG and tell you what's wrong. So I mean, that's an amazing skill to have. And that's been the nice part of PA school is like just knowing people have different experiences. So I was able to sit with him, and he was really great with like taking his time to be like, okay, look at this slowly and tell me what I'm looking at and what do you think is going on and why. The why was good too, because I
good.
didn't want to just memorize it and
Hmm.
then I would have forgotten it. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to apply it in anything that I'm
Yeah,
doing. But
it's like math. Once
yeah.
you understand each concept, it's easier.
Hmm.
In my class, I
Yeah.
had a classmate called Heather. She was an exercise physiologist. I learned
Yeah.
EKG from her more than I learned from my professors
No,
because
yeah.
she was able to dumb it down enough for me to understand,
Yeah.
and she took me through every step slowly.
Yeah.
So their
That's how
strengths, yeah,
yeah, that's how I felt with my classmate too. Because I think professors are great in a sense that they can simplify things enough, but sometimes to them it's simple and to me I'm like I need it
yeah,
like 10 times more simple than this. So it's hard.
yeah,
It's hard for them to know where we're at because there's almost 60 people in the class. So
yeah,
it's good having classmates that know.
yeah.
And then I will say going on spring break right after was great, but the EKG stuff was forgotten because at that point
Mm-hmm.
we're all like, I want to rest. So it was good that we are still doing cardiology now and are able to still see it. And when he references certain like AV blocks or anything that's going on, I can look back at the EKG and try to remember what it is that he's expecting me to know because
Mm-hmm.
at that point I would have probably forgotten it a little bit. So we did spring break. I went to Florida. I
Oh,
sat at
nice.
the beach for 7 days.
You got your
I didn't
vitamin
have
D?
I stopped my supplements. I said, I'm going for 7 days to the beach. I don't need to take it. And so I
Yeah.
stopped it. I was like, I'm good. And then I'll probably start it again knowing what I'm doing now. But
Yeah.
um, so that was good. It was nice just sitting at the beach. I went with a few of my friends that are in the program too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice. You get so close with people when you're in the program, but you get close with them in a sense of like studying too. And
Yeah.
so just being able to have uninterrupted time with people that you've spent so many hours with and like
Mm-hmm.
actually get to know these people was great. It was really nice and just calming. It was really good.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then I did not get a burn, which is
That's good.
very rare for me. Nobody believed me. I told everybody I burn, and then I came back with such a big tan, and they were like, "No, you're lying." And I was like, "No, I promise, I never tan." So I got lucky. And then we came back, and it was that Monday, like after spring break. So like around mid-April is when we restarted cardiology, and it's been heavy.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah, yeah. I think the nice thing with cardiology is that you can refer everything back to the physiology of the heart
Mm-hmm.
pretty clearly. Like when they tell you the patient has damage on the left side of their heart, you can see that. You can kind of visualize it really well when they do imaging and stuff. And I think that's what I've really liked a lot with it. And it's been the first module that I felt my understanding of physiology is really important here.
Yes.
I
Anatomy and physiology
really,
kind of helps you with half the
yeah,
diagnosis.
yeah, and with cardiology too, it's like the name of the disease kind of gives you half of what's going on. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so if it's happening in this location, I can see why maybe they have fluid in their legs. Or if it's happening in this location, maybe that's why their lungs are also kind of
Mm-hmm.
compromised too. So being able to understand that has been really nice. It's just a heavy module. Honestly, it's difficult. It's a lot of hours in the day in class, and but I did feel like every time I was going home, I was still excited to learn, which I
Yeah.
didn't feel that way with any other module. Hematology was great, but
Not like
cardiology was the first.
dermatology.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It makes me so sad again because I love her so much, but it's not going to be for me. And I'm in a friend group where a couple of them really do like dermatology, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know that I will see you in a few years to treat me, but I can't be the one doing it. But cardiology has been nice. I go home and I'm still excited to learn. Which I don't think I've really felt that strongly in a lot of the other modules, which is really great. And I tend to like all of them, honestly, except
Okay.
dermatology. I've really enjoyed all of them. It's just it seems like I have more of a passion for cardiology as of now. So that's
You
good.
haven't jumped ship from neurosurgery to cardiology, have you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Neuro is still pretty up there. It's the one to beat, but it's at least in this semester because we have one more module before we finish the semester. I can see cardiology being like the top one, which is good.
It's good you like
Neurology,
cardiology because
yeah.
it is, you see a lot of patients, no matter which
Hmm.
specialty you go into, people, have cardiac conditions that affect other parts of the body as
Yeah,
well. So, like causes
yeah.
systemic disease.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is damaged. Something happens to the heart, and you're like, and the
Yeah.
kidneys too, and now the liver. It's like the list is endless, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. But yeah, it's been good. Next week we have a few things going on. We have 3 exams, or technically 2 exams in the OSCE.
Mm-hmm.
So we do those on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday basis. So we'll take our pharmacology exam on Wednesday. We'll do our OSCE on Thursday with our simulated patient and treat them based on what we think they have going on. And then on Friday we do our
Okay.
module exam. So it's good because our professor, as difficult as it was timing wise, he really did try to bunch up everything up until Friday. And so next week looks a little bit better in terms of like Monday and Tuesday. There's not new material. There's barely maybe one topic that we have to learn, but it's nothing major that requires a lot of time, hopefully. So it's been good giving us the weekend to catch up.
Okay.
But
Now, do you have a feeling that, and when on each module, and they're so heavy, like say for cardiology, do you think that you forgot everything that you learned a couple of semesters before, or you think they're all kind of coming
I honestly
together.
think I'm scared because I think I forgot some stuff too. And then some things come up and you're like, oh my gosh, I know what that is. And
Okay.
I think that's the hard reality of it is like anybody that goes to PA school is probably really study heavy and wants to know every detail. And I'm that way too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm studying cardiology and I'm picking every single detail to study. And sometimes it takes time to kind of grasp the big picture stuff that you know you should need to know for clinical, but they don't expect you to have everything down by the time to get
Hmm.
to clinical. And that's where clinical is. And that's why it's a year long because
Yeah.
you're learning the kind of the basis knowledge and it is a lot of information and your brain can only handle so much and tolerate. I can't squeeze, dermatology out the window, it's just
Yeah.
poof, I had to make room for other stuff. But so you do forget things
Yeah.
but you do understand a lot of the big concepts. And before we move on to clinicals, we have the exam that we take.
Hmm.
It almost sounds like a pre PA clinical exam, and we just take it to see where we're at before we jump into clinicals.
That's
So I do
comprehensive of
think,
everything.
yeah.
Okay.
So I do think it's I think yes, so much is forgotten, but by the time you jump into clinicals and you're dedicating a year of like 8 hours a day in this specific field, you're gonna retain it more. And I felt that too with the IPEX that I referenced, I think last meeting, where we go meet a patient once a month
Hmm.
and take care of them and get their history and kind of understand what's going on. Those patients that I've met, their diseases have stuck out more in my brain than just studying it out of a book. So I do think it'll come back to play a little bit better. Our first IPEX patient, which is when we go in and just take a history from them, fell in a module that we were taking. So it worked out really well. He was a heart failure patient that
Hmm.
also had a pulmonary hypertension and heart failure exacerbation. So it was great. It was all this stuff that we've been learning, and it helped the disease stick in my brain better and the medication. Versus my second patient that I saw about a couple weeks ago had bladder cancer, which I'm
Hmm.
nowhere near that. I don't know. I don't even know what that entails or what they do for it. But that patient, when I do learn about bladder cancer or even the physiology
Hmm.
anatomy of what happens there, I'll remember them. So I think, yes, you do forget stuff and it's hard not to, but you do remember it
Yeah.
later on.
But you don't have to think that you'll remember in your second year. I can tell you from experience, when I left the comfort of my classroom, I was so nervous going into clinicals, but it was so much fun. And
I'm so excited.
you'll notice that you remember a lot of stuff that you learned and you're able to
Yeah.
put them together. And when you see a patient, then they all kind of come back to you.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the back
Yeah.
of the mind, it's there. It's not
Yeah. It just
forgotten.
needs
It
to
just,
come back.
yeah. And when you
Yeah.
see one or two patients, then it'll just stay with you.
Yeah. I'm excited for that too. I think I'm more of an in-person, like clinical type of person than I am behind the books all day. And I love to study.
Hmm.
I'm ready for the part of seeing patients and getting to jump into that a little bit better. So that's what we've been doing now. Cardiology ends next Friday.
Okay.
That's another like pro con of this semester. So up until pulmonology, all of our exams fell on like the middle of the week, maybe a Tuesday, a Wednesday. And so we'd finish the exam at like 10 a.m. and then we'd come Thursday to school starting another module. And we were just exhausted.
That's
We were like, I was like, I need more than like 6 hours. I do need like I need the weekend. And so pulmonology was the first exam that we took on a Friday. And
okay.
so we had that whole weekend to kind of relax. And a lot of these modules that are coming up are the same way. The problem with shorter modules is it's hard to kind of push them until a Friday. You just kind of need to be moving on to the next one. Cardiology is the same. We'll finish on a Friday and the whole weekend. I always say I'll be stupid that weekend. My brain is off. I'm not learning anything. And then Monday we'll start our next module for the
Fresh.
semester.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like a fresh
It could be
start.
worse. You could have a test on a Monday, and then your whole weekend is ruined. But
No, no. Oh, that's happened. That's
it's,
happened. We've had, a mix of everything going on, but I think this semester had definitely its ups and downs. Didactic year is really exhausting. But it's also really fun because you're getting to learn more about yourself and what you like and
hmm.
to look back and think I'm in May now. We're in May. Yeah.
We are in
No, we're in
April.
April. Yeah. Okay. I have no
Almost
idea.
May. May is the next week is
Yeah,
May.
yeah. My brain is completely off. I probably don't even know when the exam is.
Yeah.
But for all this time to have passed, to look back and know how much you know now about things you
Hmm.
had no idea about, it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
just it's also exhausting. I mean, not to sugarcoat it, there are going to be times where it's really hard and you're spending a lot of hours studying and you don't want to study and it's like your brain shuts off, but there's so much benefit to what you're doing too.
And it's good you have
Yeah.
your classmates to help you, and
Yeah.
they all come with
Yeah.
different strengths, and you pool your
Oh
strengths
yeah.
and resources and try to come up through the hard stuff, and then
Yeah.
have some time to have fun, and then recharge and go back to
Yeah.
school. So,
Yeah, they're really funny because they know I was a dietitian before, so every time we have a nutrition lecture, like they're usually like recorded ahead of time, and so they'll give us time off to watch the nutrition lectures, and my friends will text me and they're like, "You don't have to worry about watching it," and I was like, "I wasn't going to, but thank you, like I'm okay." So it's really funny. They're really sweet, but we all have our strengths and
mhm.
weaknesses. I'm good at like making charts for pharmacology. I cannot study a 200 slide
Oh,
PowerPoint. That
yeah.
just stresses me out. So I'll condense everything into like 10 pages. And then that's what I'll study. And so I'm usually the one sharing those. My other friend has the objectives kind of laid out there. Um, I'm heavy on like I literally have my notebook right here.
Uh-huh.
I'm acting like I'm still in college. Everybody's like, you don't have to write time to write things down. And I was like, no, I'm still writing things down. It works for me. I feel like
Yeah.
when I write it on either the whiteboard or the notebook, I retain it more than on the iPad. I don't know why, but
Hmm.
I'm just still doing things that work for me. And it's not every module. You won't have
Yeah.
time to rewrite everything. You just you'd waste time, honestly. So it's just certain concepts that I know I want to keep going back to that haven't really clicked for me easily. At least now I have them like in one place, and I go back to those when I need them.
And I'm glad you're sharing with your friends whatever charts you make. I
Yeah.
had a classmate, Jennifer Shramsky, and she was very good, just like you. She used to make like charts for everything, like
Hmm.
every disease, every problem, pharmacology, and she'll just email it to the entire class. She took
I
so
love
much
that.
time to make. She could have just kept it to
Yeah.
herself, but she was very generous, and
Yeah.
it helped a lot.
Yeah. No, and everybody is so nice. And our class gets along so well. And sometimes there's just concepts you don't understand that somebody understands better. And so
Hmm.
there's people that maybe I don't speak to as frequently, but maybe I understand heart failure more than they do. I'm just going to go ahead and teach them what I know, and same for them when they teach me something that I don't know. So it's worked
That's
out
good.
really well. Um, but yeah, I think that's why I like cardiology a lot too, because you would think hypertension is boring and I'm fascinated. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know why. And heart failure too, I find it this is so fun to learn about. And so it's just stuff like that that's made this module, which is pretty stressful, just a little bit less stressful, which is
You'll
good.
enjoy your internal medicine and your family medicine rotation then.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to do an elective in cardiology because the Emory doesn't offer an elect or a specific rotation in that. So I'm hoping to add that too.
Okay.
But yeah, we start GI next week after the
Good.
weekend,
Well,
after the rest. GI is our last module before the summer break. So
oh,
that's the
nice.
end of our semester. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then we start summer semester.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing us up to speed up to now.
Hmm.
You had your dermatology, you had infectious disease, you had cardiology. So what are you finishing for the rest? Summer is only one. You have only one GI section. That's it for the next.
Yeah, we do GI all of May
Hmm.
because we are still in April.
Okay.
Um, and so we'll do a month of that. And then we'll go on summer break for a week.
Hmm.
And then that begins the start of our summer semester. So GI is the last thing we have after this exam, after cardiology, before the semester ends. And then we jump into the summer semester.
Okay. And do you know
So
what
that's
you're having in summer semester?
yeah, it's stuff I'm not really excited about, but I'm gonna keep an open mind. I'm doing GU.
Okay.
Okay, I'm doing wait, why did I freeze? Ortho.
Okay.
I think those two I remember for now. I'm doing something else. GU, like GU
GU is
renal.
genitourinary.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. And then ortho,
Ortho.
and then I'm doing
Well,
something else. I'm not sure. I don't
you
oh,
know.
and then OBGYN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
okay.
Well,
We're
I
gonna
can't
have
wait to talk to
different
you at that time
yep,
then.
yep. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's they gave me all the ones I like in the beginning, and then they said neurology though is in like October, so there's hope.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready
You're
for
already looking
neurology.
ahead. Good.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the last ones, which is funny, but
Yeah. Well, before we go, let's catch up with what's happening in the personal life. How's your fiance? Last time we talked,
He's
you were
good.
engaged.
I am. I'm not me saying I was. No, I still am, which is good. He's good. He has been living in the US now for a few months too. He moved here the
Okay.
end of January. He really likes it. You know, he's learning all this stuff about DC. He just went to his first baseball game last
Oh,
week.
okay.
So that was fun. He got a certificate saying it was his first game. He had a good time. I don't know if he watched the game. I don't he doesn't
Yeah,
strike me as someone that would. So it's he just went there for fun. So he's really enjoying it, and he really likes DC. It was a great location for him to move to. So he's
that's
happy
good.
home.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Okay,
yeah.
Yara, it was nice catching up with you,
You too.
both professionally
Let
and personally. So
Yes,
I can't wait to see what you do in GI, and we'll catch up then.
I know. We'll stay tuned. I'll keep you updated.
Okay, good luck studying.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.